All right, we got chest day, a little bit of shoulders and tries at the end. It is day after quad day. Yesterday's video I explained that I rearranged just flip the day, quad day and rest day, just to only miss one day from being out, being sick, whatever. I'm not gonna talk more about it, but yeah, I guess something we could talk about before we get in there. I'll lay out what I'm doing for chest as I normally do, but we could talk about, I guess, deloads, rest days, I guess how to implement any of it, and do you really need it, like all the above. Okay, we can go over that. So, sorry, I'll do that before I start the camera, but yeah, let's just talk about both of them. Rest days, general rule of thumb, at least once a week. But there is no specific amount for one size fits all. Some people can get away with doing it once a week, some maybe twice a week. I don't know. Also, if you don't have the time to work out 5 times a week or 6 times a week, you can have more rest days if you want. Just what you're going to do on those training days is make it usually a longer session, get more volume in for the muscles, or you get 2 different muscle groups in that you wouldn't normally put on the same day, more volume, as in more sets, to make up for the amount of rest days. But let's say you just have a clear schedule or have an open schedule to when you can work out. Usually 1 to 2, general rule of thumb. I did 1 a week. I would do push-pull legs, rest. So it was basically a 7-day split. Yeah, 7-day split. And then a rest day always ended up on a Sunday or something. And I found pretty quickly that given everything else was on point with sleep, the training, the diet, that 1 rest day was it caught up to me pretty damn quick. And usually you don't want to pull back on the volume. In certain scenarios maybe, but most of the time you're not doing too much volume, usually, okay? In most cases. It's usually maybe just throwing an additional rest day. So that's how I concluded, all right, push-pull legs, rest, push-pull legs, rest, repeat the 8-day cycle now. And then I found that actually was a lot less taxing on my head, because you'd be shocked at how much systemic fatigue and CNS fatigue. In other words, when your head hurts, when you're pushing heavy weight, that type of fatigue, you'd be surprised at how much 1 additional day of not using it that day, as in not training that day, and getting another 8 hours of sleep, significantly helps recover that. Just 1 day of taking, just no gym, no pressing the gas on your brain, pushing that much amount of weight. Big difference. So, because it's different than your muscles, right? Your muscles may be fine that day, but you may start your first set and you're like, dude, my head's pounding. And that's the point I'm talking about, right? So yeah, context. I guess another one is throwing in additional rest days if needed. This kind of goes along with deloading. I'll talk about in a second. Usually, if it gets to a point where it's I guess overwhelming, or your head's starting to pound, is you could take 1 additional rest day, right? Additional rest day and just shift everything back. And just that 1 day, like I just said, additional day can help with give your body a reset, pretty much. Which is what I did when I was sick, but nonetheless, most cases you don't need an entire week to do a deload. So, and just to define what I mean by deload, as in you deload, you take off the load. Load being the weight that you're pressing, right? So if you're pressing, I don't know, if you let's just use bench press for example. If you're bench pressing like 3 plates, right? I can't do that, but the way you would deload is you would not bench 3 plates. You would maybe bench like a plate and a half when you went in there, theoretically. And the whole point of a deload is, like I just explained about your brain, your systemic fatigue, your CNS, the thing that hurts when you're pressing after you just hammer it with more and more weight. Point of the deload is to give your systemic fatigue a break and let it recover. Same concept I just said, taking additional rest day. So, sorry, I was in the middle of the intersection. Reason I say that is that you usually don't need to take an entire week of a deload to help your head recover, pretty much. Some contexts, right after competing a bodybuilding show, I recall it is very smart to take that week of a deload because of the amount of stress given the context is a lot. When you get that shredded, pushing that much, still pushing heavier weight, going into a show, and then also the diet manipulation the week of show, you drain your body, like your muscles of water, a bunch of other stuff, you're depleted, and you fill with carbs, dehydrated. There's a lot going on that you don't want to just start going back and pressing heavy weight. And combined with letting your body just recover itself, as well as your brain recover itself from the amount of stress it puts on it, that makes sense to take a deload week, and you just take that week and you just get a pump in the gym. You don't really do anything that crazy. You don't even have to do half the weight, maybe even less. You just go in and get a pump and like just fuck around. Yes, it helps with that CNS fatigue. A bonus of that is it helps prevent injury, because when you're that lean and also you right after doing a show manipulating your diet, you're very, 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 very prone to injury. A lot of people get injured because they just want to go back to training, maybe like won a show or something, and like it's like, man, I just can't wait to get back to it. A lot of injuries happen that way. It's like immediately after a show and not taking that 1 week. But anything other than that, usually don't need it. I'm sure there's some random scenario you could bring up and be like, well, what about this case? Maybe. Most cases, no. Yeah, I used to try to understand the difference between like a deload week and like I guess a rest week or like a recovery week, where you basically just take the whole week off the gym, which you don't ever need that at all. I guess that was like another reason of like just recovering, which you could do that after like a show, but usually don't want to, because after a show, assuming that you're going to eat a decent amount, you're going to want to give your body the ability to like store the food somewhere, especially if you have like a big meal after competing. And you can do that by like getting a pump in the gym, moving around a little bit. Your body can actually circulate the food, move some of the food in the muscles, because you actually still got to pump and train them, even though it wasn't crazy hard. So yeah, the recovery week is kind of pointless for the most part. So yeah, which leads to taking like an additional day if you need it. And if you need like one more day, sure. But if you're having like 3 days, let's use an extreme example of like you took 3 additional rest days because your head's pounding and you still feel like crap. Okay, the issue is probably not that you needed like to recover your systemic fatigue, okay? At that point, it's probably something else. Maybe your diet is crap. Maybe you have like no sodium in your diet and you're like dehydrated. Maybe that's why your head's pounding. Maybe you don't drink enough water. Maybe you have like no carbs in your diet and you should. It's probably something else, all right? So probably start looking at other boxes or other scenarios of what needs to get fixed. And then I guess that's it. What else is there to say about it? Yeah, I guess that's it. That was kind of covered everything that I had questions about like a few years ago. Yeah, I guess so. And then I don't know if there's a day that you need to take a little lighter because you feel like crap. Is take yesterday's quad day as an example. I'll still sweat my ass off, but I sure didn't like do a triple drop set, superset, like die set, pretty much. I just got in there and trained right, like maybe a few reps before like failure. I just racked the weight because my head was still pounding, but this is how I made it work. Yeah, that's as much as I can think about it. We got pec fly. Probably use the cable pec fly. It's easy enough where it is in the gym. We'll do 2 different machine presses for chest. Kind of like a mid press. One will be like an incline press. Shoulders will just superset because it's not the main thing we're trying to hit today. Do a superset like shoulder press, lateral raise. And then we'll do dips, overhead tricep extensions, abs. Get out of there. It's quite a bit, but that's kind of how it goes on push days. You're hitting 3 muscle groups compared to like if I'm doing my like pull day or back and by. I mean, like, yeah, of course it's going to be a little longer of a workout. You're hitting 3 muscle groups instead of 2, so not the end of the world, right? I mean, we got 2 rest days after all, and then back and bys, I can get this shit done in like sub 1 hour. I can get it done in 40 minutes if I wasn't recording. So, all right, that's as much as I'm gonna say before I get in there, because I can't think of anything else to talk about rest day wise. So, all right, what is it, day 89 or something? See you guys in there, whatever's open. How you doing? Good.
I remember the one thing that I wanted to say in the car, but I kind of forgot about it. But I'll save it for the car talk because I don't want to spend a 10-minute conversation talking about it because I want to give the full context to it. But it's just going to be about rep ranges and related to all the systemic fatigue, like the head brain fatigue from lifting. Like what do I say, congruence? Whatever. In complement to like throwing in rest days, and like I said, probably don't need to deload. Just part of preventing or just like pushing back the need to throw those into your routine. Part of that comes from like rep ranges and what you do. Throwing a mix of two of them. I'll explain it more in the car on the way home, but long talk short. You throw mix in both, like some shit like 6 to 10 and some 10 to 15. Helps throw in still moving to weight and getting like the most out of the movements while also not destroying like your head and needing to throw in an additional rest day what it feels like every 2 weeks or something. For example, like powerlifters will throw in deload weeks because of super low rep ranges, quite literally PRs, 1 rep PRs, because of the amount that stress puts on like your systemic fatigue, your CNS, which is why you throw in a mix of both rep ranges. But I'll explain it more in depth in the car. I'm not going to make a whole 10-minute combo right now. I kind of keep the workout moving. And also now I don't have to think of something to talk about in the car. Now I know. All right.
Yeah, I don't, but yeah. But I'm out of here, bro. Good to see you. You too.
I got one too. Ready? That's it. My rainbow. Why do you say that? Alright, maybe that'll be when I'm done.
Now you're also, I'm gonna lift one of those things.
All right. Damn, I've gotten used to just not fucking talking now while I lift, but I guess it's fine. I'm not trying to exaggerate what I do. That's legitimately what my workouts look like. I'm not really talking, just fucking crank through it. Yeah, I did say that I was gonna mention like rep ranges in relation to like the systemic fatigue, and that's horrible. That's not a helicopter, that's someone's exhaust. That sounds fucking terrible. Like if it was a cool car or something, like I'd be like, alright, it's like a Pista or something, like a F90 Pista. It'd be cool. But it was just a beater car. Whatever. I'm not really into the exhaust noises. Anyways, like that doesn't do anything. Yeah, I throw in a mix of 6 to 10 and then like 10 to 15 reps for movements. Some 6 to 10, or like some like 6 to 8, some 10 to 15. So I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again because we just talked about systemic fatigue. Why do both? All right, well, why 6 to 8? Well, technically, when you do stuff that's like a little heavier and lower rep like that, as in 6 to 8, it's technically more effective at stimulus on the muscle and signaling growth. But that doesn't mean like 10 to 15 isn't effective. Just I guess there's some studies saying that it could be a little more effective. But the drawback is with those lower reps, it's more systemic fatigue. Gosh, I sound fucking geek right now, but you know what? I gotta explain it regardless. Causes more fatigue on your head. Head hurts more. And then over time, if you only do 6 to 8 reps for everything, you're gonna have to do more additional rest days. You're gonna feel like you want to deload. And you may not even get out what you want out of the lift because your head's pounding. And you gotta stop the lift early because your CNS, your central nervous system, can't press as much as your muscles actually can because it's burnt out. So that's why we throw in some that are like 10 to 15 in complements to stuff that's 6 to 8. When some people may be like, I gotta watch out. Well, why don't I just do 6 to 8 and then just do less volume and then like skip the 10 to 15? That's what a lot of science-based guys say about like their routines. They try to do like way less volume per muscle. Do like one set, 3 exercises per muscle, and take to failure, and then just like 6 to 8 reps, and then do nothing else. It's like, well, you got half the point of minimizing the systemic fatigue, but you're missing the part where you can 100% get more out of the workout, which is throw in stuff that's like 10 to 15. Yes, it's technically less effective, but it doesn't mean it's nothing. 100% does help with getting the most out of the workout. In other terms, you're leaving gains on the table if you're just doing 6 to 8 less volume. And then, yeah, you can be like, well, why don't I just do 10 to 15? Then I don't have to worry about it at all. It's like, well, you can still get in the 6 to 8 reps, and then point being made, it's like a balancing act of the two. Of trying to get the most out of the workout while not destroying your head. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it goes for most shit. Same way that you have rest days within your split. It's a balancing act of recovering, training again, recovering, and then same with like your diet. Everything's a fucking balancing act with fitness. Yeah, I guess something that people will maybe say is like, oh, but if you do 10 to 15 reps, everything under the last 5 reps is junk volume. Like, it's junk. It doesn't do anything. You're just fatiguing yourself for no reason. Like, I mean, like, you're missing the bigger picture. Is it really, like, unnecessary fatigue, or is it just playing a different role than what you think it is? It's helping with not having your head pound. Because once you get to, like, 12 to 15 reps, if you've ever done a set like that, like, you can definitely feel the damn soreness, but more likely than not, your head's not pounding. Unless if you're doing, like, I don't know, barbell squats or something. I mean, I can do any rep range for that, and it's a lot. So, we'll give them the context, most exercises. So, hopefully that makes more sense to what I was talking about earlier. Which I think it should. Yeah, what else do we want to talk about? What is going on here? I guess there's as much as I'll talk about with fucking fatigue, like enough of it. I guess we could talk about taking note of some of the stuff that I got going on with my routine and how it may apply to what you're doing. So I am week 5 maybe of a mini cut. I just dropped another 500 calories. If I had to guess, I'm around like 4K a day, maybe a little less. Basically, got to the point now of like we just want my hunger to be back to like average before pushing the food again. Because that was like the main thing that was why I started mini cut in the first place, right? I was already still pretty lean. What is this guy doing? So it comes in the context of like, well, what's the reason you're starting your mini cut? It's like, all right, well, hunger is destroyed eating 5,500 calories. I was starting to throw up. I think that was a sign to call it a little bit. So mini cut instead of doing a full-blown cut. And it's like, all right, well, what's the signal going to be for getting back to pushing food? It's like, well, if I wait before I just let my hunger get settled for just a minute and then get back to bulking, like it's going to be shot again in like a week. And it's like, well, you just did nothing. So we got to wait a little bit just to get it back into at least a normal spot. And I guess it's just going to be a very lean bulk because I mean, I'm not peeled, but you can sure as hell tell that I'm not like, I'm lean. I'll put it that way, lean. Not shredded, but lean. And literally just comes down to like the reason why I started a cut. It's probably the reason why you're going to come out of cut. But yeah, I guess something we can bring out of this is, well, when do you know when to cut? Because I guess that's a pretty big question, is like, how do you know when it's time to actually start a cut? And I'd say there's probably like 3 indicators. I'll make this clear. There's no concrete way of like, yes, this is the exact date and time of this X amount of weeks during your bulk that you should start your cut. That's not real, okay? It's not like, oh, you must do exactly a 16-week bulk, and on the exact 16th week, you must start your mini cut. It doesn't work like that, all right? There's general guidelines, but the same way I said about the fatigue is it's a balancing act of understanding how your body's responding. Okay, generally, 12 to like 24 weeks is where a bulk may be time to turn it into a mini cut or for a prep. But I mean, that's a pretty big range, all right? 12 weeks is a pretty big range. So I guess some indicators are, 1, body fat percentage. If your abs are gone, yeah, chances are it's time to cut. Another one, how many calories you're eating in a day. Like if you're at, I don't know, upwards of like 6K, given the context of how much you weigh, right? People that weigh heavier can deal with more calories. But for me, it's like around 5K is usually like my body is throwing the food back up. It's like, all right, this is definitely a sign to either 1, adjust the diet so it's less volume, or 2, cut back on the food. Sorry, I was looking at something. What else is there? Another one is like if you're having a decline in your training, the training starts to turn to crap, which also my training was. So I knew that was another reason to start the cut, because it was getting dog shit. And it wasn't just like, oh, add more food, because we added more food and it still wasn't good. So there's definitely a reason to. So honestly, those were the main 3. Body fat percentage. If you're having a decline in training, regardless of increasing your carbs or food, or how many calories you're actually eating in a day. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna call it there. I just ran out of thoughts for what to talk about. So, all right, we'll keep at it. Tomorrow we got biceps, a little bit of back. Day after that, it's glute and hammies. Then I'll actually have a rest day again. And get back fucking to it. I guess today wasn't as crazy of a lift. I guess it kind of was. I was able to push a little bit, but nothing insane. Drop sets and still relatively not crazy. So, all right, call it there. Appreciate y'all watching. Peace.